If this is you or if this is your clients, you recognize that when you're in the middle of debating what you want to do, you get lost in all the thoughts, all the decisions, all the feelings, all the regrets, all the judgments, all the blame. And then sometimes you just want to hurry up and make a decision. Many people leave a relationship when they could stay, and others stay when they should leave. It means that people come in confused. And whether addiction is an issue in your relationship, get to an Al-Anon meeting. You're not going to change your partner, but you can change how you are relating to your partner. And a lot of people leave because their partner isn't giving them what they want and they don't know how to ask for it. So if you feel stuck in a relationship where you think you're asking for what you want and need, and your partner is either ignoring or defending or withholding, there can be a better way. And learning how to bring your best self, learning how to ask for what you want and need, learning how to have empathy for yourself first and then your partner. Explore your options and take the time to understand all your rights and finances. That's what leads to an amicable resolution, because you feel empowered, you feel informed, you feel supported, because you're not in a tizzy of who do I talk to? I've got a lawyer, I've got a therapist, I've got my mother, I've got my friends. That's okay, and that's a good support system. But if you're a professional, I want to give you the training that could actually give you these skills. I believe that families need not be broken, but can be peacefully and respectfully restructured. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about amicable, friendly, respectful, kind, compassionate. When you start with compassion for yourself and understand that up until now, both you and your partner have done the best you know how to do, then learning how to forgive yourself and your partner allows you to create something new. And when you're talking about the possibility of ending your relationship, if you do it with compassion and kindness and empathy, you can often create a new relationship. I often tell my clients when they come to see me that their first relationship is over. It's not about saving it or fixing it. It's about creating a new relationship based on who you both are now and what you each want and need. And when you start to be authentic, when you start to speak from your higher self, that calm, compassionate, witnessing presence, when you connect more to your heart instead of your head, and you help your clients do that, you can talk about everything. And you can talk about what happened in the past in a way to let it go, in a way to understand the other party's perspective. You learn how to talk about your pain and sadness and fear instead of your judgments. So let me give you a couple examples. Carol and Steve are two of my clients now, and they came to see me right now after spending $30,000 so far on attorneys, and they're stuck. And they're stuck because they're stuck in their old habits, they're stuck in their old patterns, they're stuck in being a victim instead of being a hero. They regurgitate the old stories over and over again. And what I want to help them do is understand that they each have a higher self. And when they relate with courage, compassion, clarity, confidence, and empathy, they can create something new, and they can stop the bleed on the attorney fees. They can stop the shrapnel of their animosity that their children are watching, and they can create something better. I'm happy to say they are making strides. They still have a way to go, but it takes practice. And another client of mine, Cindy and Jack, they coming to me for counseling, but it's still the should I stay or should I go? And part of the reason is because there's issue of drinking, and the way that the spouse who is not drinking is dealing with it is to be angry and judgmental and to keep trying to change the situation. So if you're in a relationship where there's drinking and the drinking is bothering you and your relationship, get yourself to Al-Anon. Because when you go to Al-Anon, you'll find that you're powerless over changing someone else, that there is a higher power. Turn your will over to the higher power and take your own inventory, meaning watch how you are contributing to the problem by being blaming, judgmental, angry, and it doesn't have to be that way. Even if you choose to leave, you can do it with compassion. You can do it with compassion for yourself and everything that you've been feeling. And you can do it for compassion for the partner in you you're with, who may be an alcoholic. And if they are an alcoholic, it is a disease. And you can love the person and set boundaries with the disease. And sometimes those boundaries are to actually leave the relationship. And if you feel you might be sinking, don't just float, flower. Don't feel alone in your own relationship. And if you're working with individuals and couples in conflict and you have a certain expertise, but you get lost along the way, a lot of time marriage counselors feel that they can help couples who are only there to save the marriage. However, usually one or both of them have considered, what would it be like if I left the marriage? And they've either fantasized about it, or they built walls around their heart, or they have these filters through which they're judging their partner. This might be you. It doesn't have to be that way. You can begin to create a new relationship. And you can do it by getting the support you need. And if you're a professional, getting the toolkit you need to do this. Because let's face it, everybody's grumpy sometimes. It's not about how to heal grumpiness. And even when people are grumpy, I've always found that there's an inner child yearning for connection, the 4 needs of the heart: attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. And if that's you, notice that even though you're showing your partner anger, judgment, animosity, withholding, blame, hurt, sadness, all of those feelings of yearning to connect are still there. And a lot of times, a lot of my clients have left because they felt that their partner didn't understand them and that leaving was their only option. But that's not the only option. When you learn how to be your best self and ask for what you want and need, you have a chance of getting it. Because what you're going to do is you're going to focus on what you do want instead of what you don't want. So take a breath with me now. And if it's your relationship, let's think about that. And if you're a professional, think about either someone you work with, the clients that you have, or even think about someone that you have a relationship with, because there's ways for you to make your relationship better. There's ways for you to show up in self and create a new relationship where the needs of the heart are met. We talk about love languages: touch, service, words of affirmation. But the 4 needs of the heart are affection, attention, appreciation, and acceptance. So how much of that are you getting? If you're getting very little, you probably know that. But let me ask you another question. How much are you giving? How much attention are you giving to your partner? Affection, appreciation, and acceptance? Or have you gotten into such bad habits that you feel the only way out is to part? And you can always leave. But there's ways to create a new relationship based on compassionate communication. And what I mean by compassionate communication is you connect to your best self, that spiritual center, that wise, calm, clear, compassionate heart that you have, where you let go of all the limiting beliefs and judgments that you've carried about your partner and probably about yourself, where you unburden the pain from the past and relate from your heart. Connect to your best self, let go of limiting beliefs and judgments, unburden pain, and relate from your heart. And the problem is, most people are not in self. We're going to talk about that. And the limiting beliefs they have came from their family of origin or their former relationship or even the relationship they're in now. But you don't have to keep believing your thoughts and creating more of a victimhood for yourself. You can look at it from a different perspective. And then when you unburden pain from the past, do your own counseling, do marriage counseling, unburden pain from the past. Because otherwise you're in the past, bringing it into the present, projecting it into the future, and you're not home. Nobody's home. You're all over the place. And your partner sees you as angry or judgmental or naggy or bitchy. And that's not who you are. So when you can connect to your best self, let go of your limiting beliefs, unburden pain from the past, and relate from your heart, miracles happen. And if you're a professional, I'm going to show you how to help your clients create those miracles. Because oftentimes, I don't know if this feels like you, my clients come in and they've been pretending for years. They're sitting on their old stories, their frustrations, their old beliefs, their judgments, criticism, on and on, pretending everything is fine, but everything is not fine. They feel terrible. They've thought about leaving. But my goal is to help people change the face of divorce one heart at a time. I was married to my college sweetheart for many years, and actually 20 years, and happily married. And we had 2 beautiful children and the white picket fence, and things seemed wonderful until sadly they weren't. And then I was looking at the possibility of a separation, and I didn't know what to do. I was already trained as an attorney. I then became a mediator because I thought maybe I could mediate my own divorce. Not a good idea. It's like delivering your own baby. It might be possible, but don't do it. So I was thinking maybe I'd mediate my divorce. And then I went back and became a therapist. And I studied internal family systems counseling with Dick Schwartz and my other colleagues for 35 years. And even then, and even when I went back to learn how to be a mediator and yoga teacher and Ayurveda teacher, I couldn't get the divorce that I wanted because it became a typical adversarial divorce. And in that adversarial divorce, I found myself sitting in the courtroom across from truly my beloved soon-to-be ex-husband, thinking there had to be a better way. There had to be a better way to end the union with someone you once promised to love forever. And I wrote a prayer the night before we went in, and I gave it to my soon-to-be ex and his attorney, and we read it. And what it said is that I prayed that we could come from our highest and best self, to remember the love that we each had for each other, and to do our best to create 2 loving homes for our children. I also wrote it as an intention. But I merged my personal life story, my training as a mediator, therapist, attorney, and spiritual coach, and I put it all together in a book a few years ago. So I was a mediator, an attorney, IFS therapist, and I wrote the book, Compassionate Mediation for Relationships at a Crossroads, how to add passion to your marriage or compassion to your divorce. You can get a free chapter. You can go to lindakrollbook.com and get what I feel is a guidebook, because what Dick Schwartz said, the head of internal family systems, is that divorce brings out the worst in us, but it doesn't have to. That compassionate mediation, learning how to speak from your highest and best self, talking about an ending to create a new beginning, is actually relationship healing at its best. So I wrote that book, and then I wrote Compassionate Divorce, which is changing the face of divorce one heart at a time, because we can. Amicable seemed to be the YouTube video that got 8,000 views overnight. And compassion may seem a little out of reach for people when you're angry and hurt, but amicable, compassionate, whatever we're going for an opportunity to create something new. And again, it's not what you're doing, it's who you are being. So take a deep breath with me now and ask yourself, if you're in a relationship and you're here to find out how to have a better divorce, ask yourself first, are you bringing your best self to the relationship? Are you bringing respect and kindness? Are you letting go of your filters of judgment and blame? Are you willing to put the wall down that you're building around your heart? Because if not, you're just going to get more of the same. And if you're a professional who works with individuals and couples in conflict, there is a way to help them understand self-energy in the first session. And I'm going to share that with you. Because being your best self entails understanding that we have different parts. So when I say self, this is internal family systems. When I say self, there are 8 qualities: calm, clear, compassionate, curious, confident, courageous, connected. Deep breath. And I am grateful. So when you're in self, you're more of these things. But we're not always in self. We're in parts. I call those parts exiles, managers, and extreme parts. For instance, when you're in self, you are all these things. But when you're in parts, you exile. You exile the sadness, the hurt, the fear. You don't talk about it. Some of us push aside our anger too. This is the ultimate, what about me? Who's going to love and care for me the way I need? And some of us put on what we call a pseudo self. You look like you're quote in self, but you're really not, because you're busy being nice, pleasing, caretaking. You might be judgmental or blaming or angry. There's a lot of ways to manage. And then when you can't manage the sadness and the hurt that you're feeling, you get extreme in some ways. Some people get addicted to things or get depressed or put those walls up. Some people go have an affair as a way to numb. They feel revengeful or rage, or they go hire an attorney. Not that there's anything wrong with hiring an attorney, but when you hire an attorney to fight your battle for you, instead of being your companion in this team effort to restructure your family, then you have more problems to deal with. So when you're in self, this is the chart I used to have in my office. It just explains that we don't have to ignore our inner child with what our mind and ego thinks we need to do and get reactive or numb. We can come from our highest and best self. And then here are ways to get to self. Let me tell you what I do when I have a client come in. Here's what I do in the first session. I ask you, what's the problem? What's going on? What is your partner doing? What are you doing? How do you react? What do you think? How do you feel? And I'm listening for parts. I'm listening for how much self energy is there. How much are you really showing up with this spiritual kindness that is who you are at your core when you're not buffered by the human condition? So when you show up that way, I help you recognize that a lot of what we're feeling came from your family of origin. A lot of your limiting beliefs came from your family of origin, and that both you and your partner have done the best you know how to do. And now you can do better. But it starts, I always say love is the answer, but it starts with loving yourself. And it starts with bringing that self energy into your relationship. So in my programs, I have a handout on how to get to self, because when you're in self, there's a lot of different ways to attain that inner guidance, that perspective of how do I connect to angels, God? How do I pause? Do I go into nature? Do I listen to music? Do I meditate? Do I journal? Do I go for walks? What do I need to do to come into my best self, to bring that to my relationship and then create something new? Because in that first session, I ask a specific set of questions. If you work with me or take my training or certification, I give you all those templates and all the scripts. And we introduce the concept of self in parts. We look at family of origin and what you learned, and think about it for a moment. What did your partner learn from his or her family of origin? What did you learn from your family of origin? And sometimes when you look at it from that perspective, when that higher level of consciousness, Wayne Dyer has said, when we change the way we look at something, what we look at changes. So if you're looking at your relationship from your reactive parts, your judgment, your anger, your resentments, your blame, it's going to look one way. You're going to feel like a victim and your partner's going to be the perpetrator. But if you look at it from your higher self, you can see that underneath the anger and the resentment on both of your parts, you're both hurt, you're both sad, you're both scared. And it's time to have compassion and then create something new. And then I do a guided meditation in the first session, which I give to you in my training, on how to be in self. You can create a compassionate relationship. And the way to do that, the way to create a compassionate relationship, is to practice the miracle of empathy. And I have handouts for that. I have trainings for that. But let me give you a little clue on how to do that now. Usually when people talk about their feelings, they're not talking about their feelings. They're talking about their judgments. You do this, you never do that, you always do that, you don't love me, you neglect me, you. And the person that you're speaking to stops listening because number one, they're defending. Number two, they're fact checking. And number three, they probably heard you say all this before. So switching up your dialogue and helping your clients change the dialogue is what I'd like you to do with what I call the miracle of empathy. And what that is, it's listening to your partner's feelings and understanding and offering either an apology, an amend, or some recognition that you get what they're feeling. Now, the person who's talking about their feelings, I encourage them to use feeling words like hurt, sad, and scared. Now, are you angry? Yes. Are you resentful? Yes. But you're angry and resentful because on some level you're hurt, you're sad, you're scared. Having the courage to speak for those parts of you from your higher self allows your partner to listen with empathy, without defensiveness. And that's what I want to be able to happen for you. And the way you create a compassionate relationship is to practice the miracle of empathy. And forgiveness is crucial. And if you can't forgive your partner yet, please take a deep breath with me here. Forgive yourself. In fact, put your hand on your heart right now and just repeat after me. I totally and completely forgive myself for any decision I did or did not make. I hope you can do that. Because if you can forgive yourself, you realize you did the best you knew how to do. Now you can start over and do something different. You can be more in self with a compassionate relationship where you practice this miracle of empathy. And most of all, be kind to that inner child inside of both of you, because he or she is there and they are yearning to be seen and acknowledged. So when you look at the situation from yourself, you practice empathy, you talk about pain and sadness and fear. You use I messages instead of you messages. It's your feelings of hurt, sadness, and fear instead of blame. And you are able to, and you help your partner begin to listen, understand, and empathize. And that's what I'm hoping will happen for you. So here's a picture of the handout that I give. And if you want that handout, please sign up for the training. And what we're going to do is then talk about what it means to explore options. So let's talk about options. So whether you're here for your own relationship or you're working with clients who are in conflict, who don't know what do they want to do, who are in the middle of a separation or divorce, you have to know the options, okay? Because when you know the options, you don't feel stuck. Too many times people come to my office and they feel that they're in pain, they're sad, they're angry, they're hopeless, or they have to get divorced. And they're stuck in this polarity. Here's the thing, it's not black and white. There are a rainbow of options. So if you're thinking that you might want to end your relationship, make sure you get your own counseling. Maybe go to marriage counseling. Maybe work with me privately. Work with a therapist. Do your own work. And then explore your options. In other words, you don't know that you could have a post-nuptial agreement, which is like a prenuptial agreement. You could make some decisions right now that would give you more security should you ever get divorced. You can go to a financial planner and talk about money together. You can talk about a separation where you just figure out how to separate. Sometimes you can separate in the same house. Sometimes you can nest where each party comes and goes. You can talk about a legal separation. What does that mean where you live? And you can talk about a divorce. And sometimes having the courage to talk about an ending, to talk about what a divorce would look like, and all the ramifications about co-parenting, what you're going to do with the house, what you're going to do about money, all of that. It motivates you to stop for a minute and say, do I really want to get divorced? Or should I go back and see what it would take to create a new marriage where I show up in my highest self? And I learned that I can ask for what I want and need. And I talk about the 5 steps to get what you want and need. Those 5 steps are: know what you want and need. Know you deserve it, ask, receive, and be grateful. So the knowing what you want and need is often hard, because if we're codependent, if we spent our whole life taking care of other people, we don't know what we want and need. We know what we do to make others happy, but we've forgotten what we want and need. And we know what we don't want in our relationship, but we haven't stopped long enough to think about what we do want. So remember what it is you want and need, and start thinking about that. And then know you deserve it. Step 2 of this 5-step process. Because if you know you deserve to be happy, to be respected, to have love, to have attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. Then when step 3, you ask for it, it becomes a request. It's not a whine, it's not a nag, it's not an ultimatum. It's just, this is what I want. I know I deserve it. Here's what I'd like. And then if you get some of it, even some of it, not all of it, even some, if you see an inclination to listen and meet your needs, then receive it. Often hard for codependents. We're givers, we're caretakers. To receive, but learn how to receive, and then be grateful. So the 5 steps to get what you want and need. Know what they are, know you deserve it, learn how to ask, be willing to receive, and stay grateful. And when you do that, you are going to have options available to you because you're going to learn what they are. And then when you've learned what your options are, because you're going to explore them all, you're going to understand your rights and finances. And make sure you are taking the time to understand your rights and finances. So if it means you go talk to a lawyer in your area just to find out what it would be to get divorced, what would you be entitled to? What are the laws about maintenance or alimony or child support or property division? Knowing what they are is important. And then make sure you know what your assets are, what your debts are, what your income is, what your monthly budget is. Scary stuff, huh? Because most people don't talk about it. They get into habits where one partner maybe takes care of the bills and the other partner doesn't. And then the disenfranchised partner feels like they want more power, but they don't know how to navigate that. So finding a way to make empowered decisions for your future based on full information and support is part of what you'll learn in my book and part of what I can offer you in my training. Find out how to understand your rights and finances. And because I am a lawyer, I give you the information that a lawyer would give you if you were talking to a lawyer right now. And instead of going to see a lawyer on your own and having all the information given to you to swirl around, I put it all into a video with handouts and templates and notes. And all of that is available to you so that you can begin to understand and feel supported as you do. Let's talk about content and feelings. Deep breath with me here. I could give you a lot of information on what to do, what to know, but most important is how are you processing your feelings? Because if you don't take time to process your feelings, you are going to get stuck. I was in a group once with a woman. I was leading the group, and she was so diligent in terms of getting all the materials together, getting her lawyer the numbers, making decisions, getting divorced. As soon as she got divorced, she fell apart emotionally because she hadn't stopped to take the time to process her feelings. There are so many feelings that come up: sadness, hurt, anger, resentment, and the grieving. Give yourself time to grieve. I often say that we give up on the relationship. Sometimes we give up on our partner, then we give up on our relationship. But giving up on the dream is another loss. So as you begin to think about, can I stay in the house? Am I going to lose contact with my children some of the time? You have to grieve your former reality before you have the legs underneath you to make plans about your future. Give yourself the time. Find the support you need. Process your feelings. Cry your tears. Journal your anger. And know that you are going to heal through this. And oftentimes the desire to leave, or even the actual separation or divorce, is a time of personal and spiritual growth. You really begin to figure out what it is you want and need. You learn how to ask for it and receive it. And you start over in a way that allows you to dream a new dream. And you still have to grieve the one you have. So taking time to process the feelings is important because, and if you're working with clients and you're giving them information. So let's say you've got clients and you're a counselor or a coach and you have no knowledge of how to talk about the house. If you take my training, I give you that information. And the minute you talk about the house, nobody's going to be making any decisions. because what you're going to be dealing with is the feelings that come up around letting go of the house, sharing the house, what it means to the house, what the children will do without the house. And taking the time to process those feelings before you move on is important. Because I tell my clients, working out the details isn't as important in getting to self. Take the time to process the pain, the sadness, the hurt, so that when you're talking about moving forward, you're in the present. You're in the present with compassion, clarity, confidence. That's how you want to move forward. And you can do that by learning more about my program. My Compassionate Mediation program is based on my book, and it's a 6-hour video series where I give you the handouts, the templates, the videos that I would give you if you were coming to my office. And that is both in my certification. You have access to this program that gives you information about how to be your best self, compassionately communicate, explore your options, understand your rights and finances, and plan for your future. And then I wanted to talk with you about the Compassionate Mediation certification. If you're interested in the certification, and it's for professionals who would like to use these skills in their process now, and it includes everything that I've put together over 35 years. It includes these skills, these tools, how to do the initial interview, how to make all the introductions, what to tell children about divorce, and so much that you could start to use now. I want you to be able to help your clients talk about an ending and blend emotional and spiritual healing with legal and financial information and support. And if you're listening for your own relationship, receive the support you need and have live sessions with me and the handouts and the templates and the script, and have a community, whether you're professional or personal life, have a community of support. In the certification, I give you the initial interview, the script, the questions to ask. We talk about the miracle of empathy, all the options, the rights and finances, and we practice offering that to our clients. So if you're interested, then please get my roadmap, lindakroll.com roadmap, and it'll give you a chance to set up a 15-minute session with me just so that I can coach you on wherever you are. And if it feels like the certification might be a fit, we'll set up another time to talk about it. But the roadmap will give you an opportunity to talk to me for 15 minutes and let me coach you on anything. Many times we stay stuck. We stay stuck in indecision. We stay stuck with the walls up and the filters dirty. We stay stuck in our resentment. We stay stuck out of fear, overwhelm, confusion, worry about money. We don't know where to turn. And we've turned to our families, we've turned to our communities, we've turned possibly to our religious source, we've turned to our friends, but I want to give you a place where you can turn so that you have full access. It's like having a therapist, mediator, attorney, spiritual coach in your back pocket. It's going to be a small group. It's going to be intimate. I'm going to get to know you personally. It's going to be confidential. And you are going to be able to find clarity and courage. You'll get the information that you need so that you can begin to make decisions based on facts that you might not be aware of right now. I would love to share with you my 35 years of experience. I want to give you the handouts, the templates, the videos, everything that I've learned from my heart to yours. I have been doing this for many years, and I'm looking for others that I can offer this training to so that you can take it to your life, to your clients, to your country, where compassionate mediation becomes a catchphrase for how to add passion to a marriage or compassion to a divorce, where we can change the face of divorce one heart at a time, where families can be peacefully and respectfully restructured, where we can shield our children from the shrapnel of our animosity, where we can truly make a difference, where a marriage doesn't have to end in acrimony, in failed family relationships, in financial ruin, in devastation. I often say the biggest gift we can give our children is to minimize conflict between ourselves. So learning how to do that and helping your clients learn how to do that is one I want to give to you. So with all my heart, I thank you so much for being here. Please reach out to me. There's so much to share. Thank you again for being here. I look forward to staying connected.